buddies, Sean Palmer, Seth Kamens over there. Seth and Sean Sports here at a very interesting time in both Seth and my lives. Well, we're just both really busy. That's just so things get a little bit shuffled the deck, and we're in tax season, so Seth is slammed and at his office, but comfortable. Yeah. So you can follow us, Seth and Sean, on Twitter or on Facebook. We do have our Facebook page. You can find me at SU Lawyer 2001 or the guy over there at S Kamens. And we have an interesting show today. We're going to do a little bit of buy and sell. So I'm going to.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So Seth, do you buy? So we'll start with the important stuff. Do you buy that North Carolina choked in the national championship game?
No.
Okay, so why not?
Because they had literally 4 healthy players. They have no bench, and they're not that good. Kansas was a better team, and I thought it was more Kansas just looked awful in the first half than that, and then they played like themselves in the second half. Look, to me, it was a fun game. It was neither team was a particularly great team. I mean, North Carolina is certainly not great. They were a month ago. They weren't even sure if they were making the tournament. It was a fun game. Kansas is a decent team, but of all the championship teams I've seen over my lifetime, are they anywhere near the top half? No, not even close.
Well, look, we both Seth and I appear on the Gary H show every week, and Gary did text me between the first game of the Final Four, or the second game of the Final Four, the Duke and North Carolina game, and he said, "Well, this is a good game." And I said to him, quite frankly, I believe that Duke was lucky to even be in the game, let alone winning at halftime. They did not play especially well. North Carolina basically kicked their butt all over the court on that day, and Duke just got lucky. So I agree with you. I don't think North Carolina was one of the top teams in the league. In the NCAA this year. But they did go on a good run, and Kansas was by far the better of the teams. I mean, we said that.
Did you think Kansas was anything? I mean, did you think Kansas was anything special?
Well, you're playing the teams that are thrown in front of you, right? So,
right, I get it. But I mean, let's talk about who was in front of them.
Well, they didn't have a dominant player, right? There was no.
They were a nice team.
Yeah.
I mean, Ogbaje is a good player. The guard. Remy Martin's a nice player. David McCormick is a serviceable, better than average center, but nothing spectacular. Lightfoot's okay. Braun's a nice player, but there's nothing. You don't look at that team and see the one-off studs of. We'll use our teams for instance.
Sure.
There was no Carmelo Anthony. There's no stud that carried the team. There's no Juan Dixon. Where you
they had a lot. They had if you're talking about 5 stars, right? So 5 stars being the highest. They had a lot of 4 stars. Let's say they had a couple of 4 stars and a lot of 3s, right? So they were very good. They had good depth across the board. They didn't have the stud because did you need the stud? But how many studs were there in the NCAA this year to begin with? I think that's part of it, isn't it?
I think you also let's look at Bill Self. Between Roy Williams and Bill Self, they've been coaching Kansas since 1989, 1990.
Sure.
Go back.
I don't even remember. Larry Brown was before Roy Williams.
Larry Brown quit after they won the championship in 86, 87.
88.
Danny and the Miracles. So since 89. So over the last 35 years, they've been probably a number 1 seed half the time.
Sure.
Seed half the time. Do you think this is one of the 10 or 12 best Kansas teams we've seen?
Probably not.
Not even in the discussion. I mean, this was a relatively better than average, maybe better than average Kansas team. I think Kansas has been exceptionally unlucky in the tournament over the years.
Well, that's true.
They lost to you guys. They were a better team than you.
They were. Look, I watched the one shining moment yesterday, and
I bet you did.
I was almost in tears. I got to tell you. And every year I watch it, and it gives me chills. But
Yeah, I actually
we,
watched. I found the 30-minute documentary on the 2002 Maryland team.
but
So I
I
was
will,
watching that.
but I will tell you, like of the four teams in that Final Four, us, Texas with T.J. Ford, Marquette with Dwayne Wade, and Travis Diener. I'm not sure we were even number three as far as talent is concerned. I mean,
I'm
you
not
had
sure. I don't remember who was on Texas other than T.J. Ford. I think Royal Ivy. That's about all I
yeah.
remember.
So maybe we were three, right? I mean, look, you can make the claim that Carmelo may have been the best player in that tournament,
Well,
at
yeah,
least in that Final Four. No, I mean as a college player, right? Because I think he was a better college player than Dwayne Wade was. But the fact is, overall, you could also state that they just it gave me chills watching it. But then I looked at that Kansas team and I'm like, Nick Collison, Kirk Heinrich, right? I mean, Nick Collison was a tremendous college player.
yes, he was.
I
He had a
mean,
tremendous championship game against you, didn't he?
yeah,
Didn't he go
he
for like
did.
25 and 20 or something?
He did, and Heinrich as well. But you're right. The Kansas look definitely not as good as that
And
Kansas.
look, and
Not as good as the 2020 Kansas team that didn't get to play in the tournament, right? I mean, that was the number one seed going in, all overall number one seed if they had actually played a tournament that year. They would have been the number one seed.
I even looked the year before when we played them in the national semifinal, which was for all intents and purposes the de facto national title game. They had Heinrich, and they had Collison, and they had Drew Gooden, who was first team All American.
Yep.
And we played the best 25 minutes in the history of Maryland basketball. We were down 13-2, and we ended up 25. But the 97 team with Pierce that went like 37-1. The team in 99 that Arizona beat in double overtime.
Sure.
Like these were great teams that just honestly got unlucky.
Yeah.
This was a Kansas team which kind of evened the score a little bit. Not a great team, a solid team. Do I think they were – again, it was not a great year of college basketball. And we said going in that we thought Gonzaga and Arizona were the favorites, but there were 10 to 12 teams we could have seen winning it.
Sure, absolutely. And is this – look, you have beaten this horse a long time, saying that college basketball has gotten worse and worse over the course of the years. Is this the norm now? Is this what we're going to get to? These types of years.
Strangely enough, I don't think so, because I don't know what the impact of the NIL is going to be. I don't know. I know that in football, you're paying Quinn Ewers $8 million or $5 million to be the quarterback of Texas.
Sure.
So he's incentivized. Now, football players don't leave till their junior year anyway. They can't under the collective bargaining agreement or under whatever the agreement is. You know that verbiage better than I do. But financially, they're incentivized to stay, even if it's not quid pro quo.
Right.
Even if you can make more as a top 10 pick, if you're making $1.5 million and having a time of your life, sure, why not? Basketball players aren't going to make the same amount, but you may have people who want to stay, but haven't wanted to.
Do you understand though? Basketball does have a minor league, right? While football does not. So you could actually go to the Ignite or something along those lines.
Most people would prefer, if all things being equal, would prefer if there's a financial, not a massive, if it's not a massive financial disparity, sure. Most people I think would prefer to play a year in college than play in the G League. The incentive of the G League is the financial aspect.
Sure.
It's not that you're playing an extraordinarily higher caliber of team in the G League potentially than a high-end college team.
I agree with that.
I mean, I don't think that's an issue.
Okay. Well, and so you don't think that this is an indication of the future? You think that this is a
I'm
one-off?
not sure because, as I said, I don't know what the NIL payments are going to be to basketball.
Why would it matter? But why would it matter? I guess that's my point.
Because you're incentivizing people. Because financially, you're financially incentivizing people to stay in college.
But I don't think, no matter what, even if you get $500,000, right? I think that's a lot of money in an NIL for a basketball player. If you get $500,000 and you're a first round pick and you're a freshman, are you being incentivized to stay? No. The minimum salary in the NBA far exceeds $500,000.
I'm making up right, but we're not talking. Well, first of all, as of now, you can't jump from the high school to the NBA.
Correct. You're right.
You have your choice of G League or this. These are your options.
Correct.
Now, what is the G League pay? I'm not comparing this to the NBA. I'm comparing this to the G League.
So let's see what Jalen Green earned last year. Okay, because that's fair, right? Because he was in the Ignite. Jalen Green earned. No, that was definitely not last year. That's this year. With the Ignite, he earned about $500,000, give or take.
Okay. So
I think that would be very hard for a college basketball player to earn $500,000.
Yeah, but maybe not. Because again, think about what he was. He was a top 5 recruit in the country.
Yep.
So again, I don't know exactly who's paying what. None of us know that. But if he can make $400 being in college or $500 being in pro for a year, he may choose the college game.
Yeah, that's true.
Because look, at the end of the day, most people, even if they don't care about college, if it's not a massive financial disincentive and they have to be somewhere for a year or two, they might as well be somewhere with, let's be honest, a bunch of 18-year-old girls or 19-year-old girls.
As opposed to the 25-year-old girls that are slobbering all over them?
Yeah.
Because they're earning a lot of money?
Exactly.
I think it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Yeah, but people have watched games at Cameron or at Fog Allen. There is a draw there. And if it's not a massive financial disincentive, I think you're going to have players there. I think the problem is, and this is what we've seen, this is over the years, is for the most part, the one and dones. Now, Duke was a bit of an anomaly this year, but the one and dones haven't done great in the tournament. I mean, yes, Carmelo was a generational college player.
Well, Kentucky has been one and done for how long, right? So I'm not saying this year they didn't do well, but let's look at Kentucky basketball.
When was the last time Kentucky went to the Final Four?
Well, hold on. That's exactly what, Seth, you and I are on the same path. That is exactly what I'm doing. So let's look at where they wound up. Okay. Here we go. Oh, I thought I had it. So we're looking 19. Hold on. For some reason, it's not coming up this way. That's not what I was looking. Okay, so the Elite Eight they went to in 2019, 2017, 2015, 2014.
When was the last time they were in a Final Four?
Final Four, 2015, 2014, 2012, 2011.
Okay.
So it's been 6 years.
Been 6 years. And one of the teams was the Anthony Davis team, and that team was just absurdly good.
Correct. But they've been, look, in the last, they've had 4 Elite Eights in the last 9 years.
Yeah, but
8 years.
This is what we've kind of seen is teams have gotten to the Sweet 16, Final 8, and kind of
right. They've petered out because at some point experience does matter, or you would like to think so.
Right. Well, anyway. Let's look at the teams that have won last night. Kansas is a very veteran team.
And anytime you put Villanova in there, they're going to be a veteran team.
Baylor won it last year. Veteran team.
Sure.
Villanova, I believe the year before there was nobody. The year before that was probably Villanova. Villanova's always a veteran team.
Yeah, I'm with you. I get it. It's just a matter. So I understand that experience does matter. I am not belaboring that point at all. Okay, so you said it was
2019 was
Kansas,
Virginia.
Baylor. It was Virginia, who's again
Veteran
a veteran team.
Nova veteran team.
Then North Carolina, probably not a veteran team at that point.
No, I think that team actually was. I'm gonna actually look up quickly. I think that's
I got it right here.
Marcus Page Sr., Bryce Johnson Sr. Yeah, these are all seniors.
Yeah, they beat Nova. That was the game they beat Nova.
No,
they beat Gonzaga. They beat Gonzaga.
Yeah, Joel Berry
Jr. And the year before, Nova beat Carolina, and before that, it was Duke and Wisconsin. And Wisconsin's another senior-laden team generally.
Right. The Duke team wasn't, but I've always kind of, and I don't know, there was an argument last year on Facebook. Nabate and myself, I know, shocking.
There are arguments on Facebook?
Yeah, stunning. Yeah, pretty much. I think Wisconsin was a better team than Duke. I think they beat Kentucky, who was undefeated, and I think they were just absolutely exhausted. That Kentucky team was the Karl Anthony Towns team.
By the way, do you think that last week you said that you thought Kansas was going to run them out of the building because they were going to be too tired?
I didn't realize 3 of their guys were going to get injured.
No. My question is, first of all, the first half definitely didn't look like they were tired.
No.
They were – North Carolina was sensational in the first half. In fact, your text message to me of what the hell am I watching was just funny.
This is what was funny. I love Charles Barkley. I don't always agree with Charles Barkley, but I really enjoy watching Charles. And what he said to me I don't know how great that was on Carolina or how horrible Kansas looked. They missed like 7 layups.
Yeah.
I mean, easy shots. Carolina looked great, but the problem with Carolina is they have no bench.
Yep.
And when you have your 6 man's throwing up, your best player turned his ankle or twice. And I mean, look, that was a really unfortunate in the last minute. That was terrible. Caleb Love was hurt. Brady Manick, who's your guy, because you like lumberjacks, apparently.
I just love guys that can grow beards that I can't grow. It's just that simple. Dude, I can grow that crap. I can't grow anything more. But, yeah, well, let's take a step back. So what happened? I was
looking through this. UConn in 2014 was the Napier team.
Yeah, I got
the Patino team. Yeah, these are all veteran teams.
All right, so let's take a step back because I think it's important to recognize what did happen on Saturday, right? So North Carolina won, but it's who lost, right? So Duke lost, and with their loss, Mike Krzyzewski concludes the greatest coaching career of all time, right?
Unless you're Jay Williams and you think he's coming back. I don't know if you heard this.
I did not hear this. Wait,
Jay Williams apparently said he thinks he's coming back.
To where?
To Duke.
Wait. The next year? Huh.
I don't buy it. But, I mean, this isn't like clickbait. I mean, Jay Williams was the national – for those of you who don't know, Jay Williams was the National Player of the Year for Duke. Won a national championship with Duke. Why he would say that unless there was some – I can't imagine he would pull that out of –
his patoot?
Yeah.
Look, I hadn't heard that.
USA Today. Jay Williams says there's a legit chance Mike Krzyzewski could unretire as coach.
Look, Boeheim did it. So, I mean.
Yeah, but Boeheim didn't do it after the year was done.
Right, that's true. Look, it would be. How would you feel if you were John Shire and that happened? I'll tell you even more. How would you feel if. What would your and look, we're hypothesizing here, right? I mean, we're not saying this is legit, or we have no inside information. But would your respect level for Mike Krzyzewski go down if he unretired at this point?
Yes.
Yeah.
If he decided in 2 years he wanted to coach again, that's one thing. I have no problem. Just like I have no problem with Michael Jordan coming back 2 years later. I have no problem if LeBron wants to play till he's 45 and he's averaging 3 points and 1 rebound. I have no problem with that. This is what you do. This is what you love. I get it.
By the way, I'd prefer he played in Cleveland if he's going to do that. I'm just saying. No, really. But anyway.
Well, you get my point. Well, he's going to play wherever little Bronny's playing.
Right.
So.
Please let that be Sacramento. I just want it to happen. Look, there are teams that for some reason can never get good, right? And I'm not sure if that's just bad management. It might very well be, or just unfortunate circumstances. You can name a team in every single sport that no matter what, they just cannot get good. And I think the prototypical or the team that I would put the Reds in there, right? No matter what happens, they just can't get good. They haven't been good since 1990.
Detroit Lions.
Detroit Lions in football. You want to go to the NBA, it's got to be Sacramento, right? I mean, there's nobody else.
Not since 2003, 2004, around that time.
And even then, it was just you mean with Weber?
They were the best team in the league.
Right. You're talking about Weber. Yeah. So you're talking about 20 years, right? I mean, let's look at it, right? And then you look at hockey, the Phoenix Coyotes. That's the Arizona Coyotes. But I'm just saying, I'd love Bronny to get drafted by Sacramento, and he'll either do one of two things: pull a Kobe and say, "I'm not going to play here," and then he has to get traded to somewhere.
I don't think he's good enough to do that.
Well, Kobe wasn't exactly good enough at the time either. I mean,
Kobe was picked
13th overall. He couldn't have been that
Well, no, you know the story. He was supposed to go 7th or 9th, I forget which, and to the Nets. And that was when he pulled I am not assigned.
Right, he told Ron Thorne, I'm not going to play. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's when they took Kerry Kittles.
Or you call his bluff because he's just not that good, or he is just that good, and you deal with it.
Well, he was a high school kid, and at that point, you didn't have the high school kids coming out and having that. So,
anyway, I'd love Bronny to be drafted by Sacramento 12th overall, and then it would. But no, I totally agree with you. If Krzyzewski wants to come out, I'd prefer him go to West Point. I think that if he went back to Army, that would be pretty cool. I mean, we saw Fran Dunphy come back today, right?
Yeah, who just decided he's just going to coach all the Big Five schools.
I mean, why not?
Why not? He's a Philly guy. So he's coached Penn, he's coached Temple, and now he's coaching LaSalle. Good for him.
The thing is, there's nothing wrong with you wanting to coach or play as long as you can do them. As long as you can do them respectfully and do them as long as you want. I think the point that we were trying to make is, look, I lost a little bit of respect for Boeheim when he basically shuttered down a plan that he was supposedly part of. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't, and maybe we'll get that answer someday. And I would lose, like you said, I'd lose a little bit of respect for Krzyzewski if he just said, screw it, I'm coming back next year at the expense of John Shire.
I think the rationale that we're hearing is Nolan Smith, who is one of the big recruiters for Duke, just left to go to Louisville to coach under Kenny Payne.
Mm-hmm.
And he's afraid they're going to lose the recruits.
Well, tough shit. I mean, I'll say that flat out. I mean, I'm sorry. If you lose the recruits, Nolan Smith was going there anyway. You can't stop progress, as I like to say. But maybe that's it. But look, he's better than Wooden. You put him above Wooden.
Yeah, I think you have to. I mean, look, they're 1A, 1B. Gino Auriemma is probably 1C. As great as Wooden was, it was a very different era. There were only 4 or 6 legitimate teams. He got everybody he wanted. Sam Gilbert made sure he got everybody he wanted. If you want to say Wooden's the greatest of all time, I don't think anyone's going to argue. If you want to say Coach K is the greatest of all time, I don't think you're going to have a huge argument from anyone. I mean, he's won. Look, he won as a favorite. He won as a massive underdog. He won when everybody stayed 4 years. He won with the one and dones. He was never non-competitive. Um, I don't know how. I don't know how you can have him under number 2.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, and that makes a lot of sense. And I think when you look at all the players that he graduated, I'll say graduated because I think that that's important when it comes to college basketball, as opposed to look, he had a lot of one and dones. I get that, right? He had a lot of juniors who came back. Look, Grant Hill went back and got his degree, right? I think that it's pretty important. I know
I can't go there because
I can't. I have to. Because college sports has taken on a different role today than it did, say, 20 years ago, right? I just had a guy in my office that said he was a tennis player and he came to the United States from Kazakhstan because he got an education. That was his means to an education. I think that it's important to recognize that college coaches, while they are recruiting to win, look, winning is everything, right? It's not everything. It's the only thing, right? I don't remember who said it, but somebody said it.
Vince Lombardi.
Okay, Vince Lombardi said it, but he said about probably. But
sounds like something Vince Lombardi would say.
It is kind of important to recognize that you are a college athlete. College is before athlete. And I know that is taking a back seat now, especially with NIL, but it's still there, Seth. To me, it's still there.
Here's the problem. Yeah, I agree. And if he was coaching at UNLV or he was coaching at University of Kansas, and he was pulling these numbers, I have no argument with you.
Okay.
But if you're going to Duke, the expectation is you're recruiting an intellect. You're typically recruiting on the higher intellectual side. So I'm not surprised. I think a lot of these guys went to Duke. Like some of them probably went to Duke because it's Duke, knowing that they may not be go pro.
But doesn't that make it okay? So let's take the flip side, right? You're an athlete. You tend to think that athletes probably get a pass in certain circumstances for academics, right? Mm-hmm. Like you're gonna. I understand that Notre Dame. You don't get into Notre Dame unless you pass their academics first, and then it's athletics, right? I have to think Duke is not one of those schools. I just don't. I don't think that they are one of those schools where academics is first and athletics is second. We have never heard that. We have never heard. I think we've heard it about. Well, I think I've heard it about 3 schools in my life. Vanderbilt, for some reason, Vanderbilt's in that class. I've heard about any Ivy League school. You have to get into the Ivy first, and then you get, because they don't give scholarships. So you got to get into the Ivy first. And I've heard about Notre Dame. That's it. The rest of them is you play sports, you get in, and we hope you can survive. And so to maybe these athletes, granted, Seth, they are going to Duke because it's Duke, but maybe they wouldn't have gotten into Duke beforehand, and maybe they have
survived. Look, everybody lowers their standards to a degree.
No, but my point is they've had to up their academic game to survive at Duke.
No, I disagree. Although I'm now wondering if I'm actually changing my argument.
If Duke is a better school, right? Yes. Duke is a higher academic school, and your average SAT, let's say an average SAT is 1,400. I don't know what SATs go at anymore, but let's say it's 1,400.
It's at a 2,400 now, not
1,600. So let's say it's 2,200, right? Average to get into Duke is 1,600. 2,200, and they lowered their standards for athletes to 1,900, right? Mm-hmm. And you still graduate Duke as an athlete. You have accomplished something that most people in that situation would not have been able to do.
No, not especially. Look, here's the question with going into Harvard. Is it harder to get into Harvard or graduate from Harvard?
I don't have the answer to that. I know it's probably
the answer is exceptionally simple. It's much harder to get into Harvard than it is to graduate. It's always harder to get into the schools than it is to graduate from the schools. Okay. Because if you don't graduate from the school, they're never going to get any money, any donations from you. How do you not know this?
Well, I'll say it was probably easier
short
to
of
get.
Carmelo who left
Hold on.
because of
Hold
obvious
on.
reasons.
But okay, so I can only equate this to law school because I can. That's the only place that I can do it, right? It was much easier to get into law school than it was to stay in law school. I will tell you that flat out. And I have to think, hold on, but I think for an athlete, it's probably easier to get in for an athlete, not for a person, not for a regular student. It's probably easier to get in because you have that athleticism and you have that on your record. That is to actually keep your grades up and play ball at the same time at a higher educational school.
When was the last time at a higher educational school
if somebody got academically probation? I know where this is going.
When?
I'll say Fabello because that was what it was.
Yeah, and Syracuse, while a nice school, is not exactly in the Vanderbilt Notre Dame
standpoint. No, and
X-Ray Hip, I think, had it in 1996. Like nobody, they don't.
Okay, that's fair. I'll you know what? I'll take it. I understand. Okay, point made. Still think it's hard. Still think it's hard to juggle, but understood that, you know what, they're going to find a foul is not a foul unless the referee blows his whistle or unless North Carolina makes a fake class. So that's my Lord if they make a fake class. Okay, so let's move on. So do you buy or sell? We're moving on to a different sport. Do you buy or sell the Cleveland Guardians sign it? First of all, that is ridiculous, that name. And I will always think that is ridiculous. The Cleveland Guardians re-signing Jose Ramirez. Do you even know who that is?
Yeah, he's their all-star third baseman.
Yes. Well done.
Thank you. I don't understand it. He's literally making more than the rest of the team's payroll combined.
Well, no, he's not. First of all, the extension doesn't kick in for another 2 years.
Well, I didn't know. I haven't looked at the deal, so I.
So he's earning. So it's a 5-year, 125 extension, somewhere around there, and he has 2 more years on his current contract at 12 and 13. By the way, he had the greatest contract for them. I think it was 7 years and $52 million for all in told. So. You don't like the extension. I'm trying to understand this one.
Okay, let me rephrase. I think it's actually a very fair extension for Cleveland. What I don't know, and I'm actually looking it up, is what is Cleveland's annual payroll for 2021 for 2022?
I can find that out for you if you would like. So you'd like to know how much he's making this year compared to?
No. What I want to know is. Their active payroll is $36 million.
Yep.
I believe.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
I'm looking. So
I got it right here on Spotrac. So their payroll right now is $40,410,000. Next year, their payroll is $18 million. They have 2 people signed for the entire team. One of them is actually Jose Ramirez, by the way.
So I guess the question I have is, you are running a bare bones operation.
Hold on. To be fair, every single person they have probably 70% of their team under arbitration. So that's why they're not signed for next year.
Okay.
So they're they're not going to be making tons and tons of millions of dollars, but. They are under. I mean, Shane Bieber is arbitration too.
I think Shane Bieber is the only guy left on the team I know. Is there anyone else I know on the team?
You know, Ahmed Rosario, the ex Met that was traded. Yes.
Not really.
No. Okay. Well, I froze.
That's not the guy who was crying, right? That was Wilmer Flores.
No, that's Wilmer Flores.
Okay.
Other than that, you probably don't know many people on this team. That is probably true.
Look, I think it's actually a very reasonable deal for Cleveland. I'm just confused how you have a $40 million payroll and have $25 million being going to one guy.
No, and I can appreciate that. I get that. Well, and you hope at some point.
I hope at some point look. I find it embarrassing when you have teams under the floor, and it looks like Sean has disappeared. But when you hear major league team payrolls, when I see the Orioles at 24 million and Oakland at 29 million and Pittsburgh, hey, look who's back.
I said sorry about that. Yep.
That's okay. But I'm looking at the team payrolls right now on your favorite website. And
My favorite.
When you have 4 teams that are under $40 million in payroll, they shouldn't be owning.
It's lunacy. Look, the one thing that they should have done in the collective bargaining agreement more than anything else was establish a floor. Because I can deal with you don't need a cap so much as you need, and Gary said this on his show as well. You don't need a cap so much as you need a floor. You can't be dealing with the Mets having a $300 million payroll, which is possible, and then the Indians having a $40 million payroll. That doesn't work, especially when you have 12 teams going to the playoffs, which is still utterly ridiculous.
To me, it's very simple. Any team who has a payroll under $50 million should not be running a team. They shouldn't own the team. Now, I know you can't force Peter Angelos to sell as much as Baltimore would love that.
Correct.
They have $24 million in payroll. I mean,
yeah, I'm not. That seems very low. I mean, beyond low. I'm looking at. Okay, so if you look at their roster on that same website, they've only counted the first 10 players on the team. So assume the rest of them make the minimum. So that's another 20. So 20 times a million. So that's another 20 million. I'm not saying that's what they'll earn. They may earn even more than that. But that's another 20 million. So you're up to 49 million. Again, not saying that's legit, but the point is there is some movement. It's not $30 million.
Right. But yeah. But you look, Oakland does this every 5 years. They purge and then they're back in the playoffs in 2 years anyway. I mean, they traded the pitcher to the
They traded Sean Manaea. They traded Matt Chapman. They traded Matt Olson. They basically just went through it and said, okay, we're going to do this and come back. Right, exactly.
Which, again, this is every couple of years this happens. And if you're never going to keep it, I don't know their end game. It's never going to go anywhere.
Well, Seth, their end game is to get a new stadium. That's their end game.
Wait, but we loved their old stadium. It was beautiful.
Okay. It looks.
And there's the end of Sean. So, for those of you who don't know and haven't followed our travails over the years, the summer before I got married, Sean and I did a baseball stadium road trip and went out to Oakland. Oh my Lord, what a hole in the wall. We went to Chavez Ravine. We went to Pac-Bell Park, which was gorgeous. We went to Safeco, which was gorgeous. Sean went down to Petco, which I had been to before, which is gorgeous. And hey, welcome back.
I apologize. Severe technical difficulties today.
You work at an IT company.
I understand, but I am having technical difficulties. Well, actually, Microsoft Edge is having technical difficulties. It teaches you not to use anything with Microsoft, but that is not a statement.
What we're talking about, Oakland's not getting. We've been talking about Oakland in a new stadium for how long?
I know. Look, I know.
Pirates have supposedly one of the nicest stadiums in baseball. I haven't been. I've heard it's gorgeous.
Yeah, but the first couple of years of that stadium, they actually did do very well with McCutchen and whatnot. Look, and I like believe it or not, I like what Pittsburgh's doing. They have a lot of good young talent that are going to these smaller teams, and they are smaller teams, right? They're not high revenue teams. And it doesn't matter what stadium you put in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is still Pittsburgh. It is not New York. It is not Chicago. It is not LA. It is not even Houston. It is still Pittsburgh. And if you look at the cost of living in Pittsburgh, Seth, if you lived in Pittsburgh, your house could triple.
Please no.
No, the point, but you know what I'm saying, right? So the amount of money that's being spent in Pittsburgh is going to be less. You can only charge so much for tickets. You only get so much for revenue from TV. it is not a shared revenue system like it is in football. Remember, the only reason the Green Bay Packers exist, there is one reason, is because of selflessness that happened in the 60s.
Right. I was going to say, no one's going to accuse it of selflessness at this point.
No, but when Wellington Mara and the Rooneys and Lamar Hunts and those guys, I remember Lamar Hunt at that time was in Dallas. When they said at that time, we are going to split the TV revenue evenly. We are going to have revenue sharing evenly throughout all of my entire sport, except if your name is Dan Schneider, then that means that the New Yorks and the Green Bays are playing on the same field. Yep. And that did not happen in baseball and will never happen in baseball. Because as long as you guys got Steve Cohen's and Guggenheim's and John Henry's and the big wigs, Peter Angelos, right? Look,
Peter Angelos should be asking, but Peter Angelos is on the bottom of that.
But he's taking the revenue sharing.
Yeah.
Remember, Peter Angelos is taking revenue share. He's taking like $50 million a year and he's putting that in his pocket. Yeah. So that is the reason why Pittsburgh's will never be able to compete long term. They will have to do this rebuild all the time, as will the Oaklands. And it's a shame, but that's the way it works.
Do you think Major League Baseball should contract?
No, I think that's wrong. I think because who does contraction benefit? Seth, who does it benefit?
If you have teams that are never going to be competitive, or for the most part are never going to be competitive.
All right, so let's talk.
Is there a value add?
Well, let's talk about it, right? So your whole concept, you have stated numerous times that baseball is an old man sport. Right? It is decreasing in popularity. It has less fans than it ever has before.
Do you disagree with anything I just said?
No, I don't. But in an effort to get new fans, you can't take away clubs. You're not going to get newer fans. You're not going to get the 12-year-old from Pittsburgh going to Boston and becoming a baseball fan. That's not going to happen. And if there's no team in Pittsburgh, he's probably never going to be a baseball fan. And if there's no team in Minnesota, remember, there was contraction on the list for Minnesota. Now, if Minnesota was contracted, understand that where is the next closest city that has baseball to Minnesota? I know where it is.
Is it Milwaukee?
It's Milwaukee on one side and Denver on the other.
Denver?
No, on the other.
Yeah, I get it. Because you're going through Montana and the Dakotas.
Right, and St. Louis South. Those are your three closest baseball teams. That is in understanding that baseball was not in Minnesota until the 1960s, that if you have any hope for resurrecting fans, you're going to lose that entire part of the country.
Okay.
And I don't believe it. And first of all, Carl Poland is a billionaire. I don't want and I love the Twins. So it doesn't they're my team. They're my American League team. But anyway, that being said, all right, so let's keep playing here this lovely game of buy or sell. Are you buying the Lakers making a comeback next year and making the playoffs?
Making the playoffs, yes. Do I see them? I buy that. Do I buy them as a true contender? I don't think so. I think there's no room for them to move because I don't know how the problem is, can they get off Westbrook? What do they have to do to get off Westbrook's contract?
A 2027 first round pick. That's how they get off Westbrook's contract.
That I don't know if that would be enough to take on. I don't know. Is it $46 million for how many more years? Is it only one more year?
One more year.
Yeah, that may be enough depending on where other teams are. So,
by the way, if I'm the GM of the Knicks, I do that trade in a heartbeat.
Yes,
I take Westbrook for one more year as long as I don't have to extend him and get my 2027 pick. 100 times out of 100 if I'm the Knicks, and I give him Julius Randle to make up for it. 100% of the time. Anyway,
hey, Look who's calling.
Julius Randle? Ah, my mom. Hi, Mom.
Did I put her on the phone?
No, please don't. You can tell her you'll call her back. Anyway, she is not our one viewer, by the way. I'm sure that's my brother. Hi, Mitch. So anyway,
Jeremy Harlan. Hey, Jeremy.
Hey, so do you buy? Okay, well, let me put it this way: do you buy LeBron back in La La Land next year?
Yeah, that I do. I don't think they're gonna trade him.
Okay.
Because he still brings panache. I think there's a better chance you trade Anthony Davis, who can't stay healthy and apparently is not really big on working to get into shape out of everything we're reading. So I think
Wouldn't it be funny if you traded him for Zion?
That would be
like I'm just like looking at trades in my head, right? He goes back to New Orleans for Zion. Like you'd have to add a whole lot of salary on the Hornets side, but that could conceivably happen. Look, he liked it there. I just don't know what you would do. That just seems off kilter. Do you buy Westbrook back, or is he going to find a new home for the third straight year? By the way, the untradeable contract will be traded perhaps for the third straight year.
I actually think he'll be traded because, if we've talked about this, and I agree with your hypothesis, anyone with 1 year left on a deal can be traded.
Oh yeah, and if you attach a pick that's in 2027, that's basically a lottery pick, right? As long as
I mean, who the hell? It's 5 years.
No, lottery. Sorry, not a lottery in the NBA. A lottery, as in the true form of a lottery.
Yeah,
it's a shot in the dark, right? You're throwing it up there and you're hoping that it sticks. The key will be the protection to round that pick, and if there are too many protections, you just don't do it. Like you're not doing a 1 through 15 protection with.
No, you're doing realistically no protection on it.
No protections. You're taking that.
I mean, because no one's going to transition it to a 2 second rounds pick. 2 second rounds.
That's correct.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. They'll probably figure out a way to trade him. I'm not sure. The problem is the team is old. The team is Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis just hasn't been dominant the last 2 years. I'm not sure if he's ever going. If what they're saying about his work ethic, and we have no idea, is true, I'm not sure if physically he's going to be what he was, which is a shame because he's 30 on a consistent basis. And at some point, LeBron is not going to be a top 10 player in the league. He's not there yet. He still is a top 10 player, but I think they make the playoffs. I don't really think they're going to be I don't see them as a finals threat.
Okay. Do you buy or sell Tom Thibodeau returning to the Knicks?
Oh, they've already announced he's returning. I buy it.
Oh, did they?
They picked up his 5th year extension already.
Oh, did they really?
They picked it up last summer.
Oh, but that doesn't mean he was returning.
They're guaranteeing 4 years of his 4 more years for him. If you think
what?
I'm pretty sure he's got 4 more years left in his contract. Maybe it's 3.
Yeah, but but if you're the Knicks, you've fired people with more. So I mean, the fact, right?
Unless you're bringing in a panache. Look, I think David. I thought they were nuts to guarantee 4 years, considering he's never stayed anywhere 4 years without pretty much alienating everybody. Who are you going to bring in? Calipari?
Well, that's a whole different. Well,
we're talking World Wide West,
right? I was just going to say you got World Wide West there, right? I don't think he has that much left, and I don't think they. Okay, so they actually. Wow, Spotrac actually has Tom Thibodeau's contract, which I didn't think was going to. Oh, no, they don't have that. He got a 5-year deal in 2020. So he's got 3 more years. Yep. 3 more years.
NBC 19 hours ago, NBC Sports. Another report, Knicks plan to keep Thibodeau as coach next season.
Okay. But that doesn't mean they will. I'm just asking you if you. Yeah. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Do you buy or sell John Calipari staying at Kentucky?
That's interesting.
Thank you.
I'm going to buy he's going to stay because I don't think he would go to another college job. I think what you're looking at is you're looking at the Lakers. If Thibodeau is fired, you're looking at the Knicks. And maybe if Doc Rivers takes the Lakers job, you're looking at the Sixers.
Okay.
I don't know what else he would. I don't think he's not going to the New Orleans. He's not going to New Orleans.
Well, how about this one? Well, I think it's important. Buy or sell that Frank Vogel survives till next year. He's gone? He's gone. Okay. All right. Okay. I mean, that's kind of important. Okay, let's keep going. Do you buy or sell? What was I just? Oh, that Colin Kaepernick makes a team this year. Is he going to play in the NFL?
I sell. I mean, I would love to see him make a team. I want to see him get a tryout at least.
So you don't think? Did you see any of the Michigan?
No, I heard he looked great. I heard he looked great.
Yep.
Look, I think he should be in the running in Seattle. I think he should be in the running in Atlanta.
By running, what do you mean though? Like
I think he should be in a camp in a team where there is no definitive starting quarterback.
Really? Okay.
I have no problem with. Look, he was a good quarterback.
No, I don't have any problem with that. I look. You and I agreed at the time he had every right to do what he did. He should. No bones about it. But he is now 5 to 6 years removed from any NFL action.
Do you have any problem with him going to a camp?
No.
Invited to a camp?
No. But saying that he should be involved with any team that doesn't have a starting quarterback, that's like saying any other. That's like saying, okay, so should Phillip Rivers, right? Who hasn't played in 2 years.
No. First of all, he's a lot fresher than Phillip Rivers. But I think, look, he's going to take any opportunity he has to get back into the NFL.
You would hope. Hope.
I assume.
Yep.
I can't imagine he's going through all of this.
As a stunt? Okay.
Not at this point.
Okay.
So I think he does. I hope he ends up in a camp. I would like to see him in a camp where he's not where he has a chance to become the starter. I'd like to. I don't think he will, but I'd like to. Yeah. Look, he was the final year. He didn't have a great actually, he didn't have a bad last year as a starter, if I remember correctly. The team fell.
They just went. The team was horrible. I think they went 3-13 that year.
But he took a team to the Super Bowl. He took another team to the NFC title game. He was a good player.
Yep.
And yeah, he's 5 years out. I don't know what he has left, whether he can physically take. You're 5 years out, or he's now really, really, really healthy, and he can take it. I have no idea, but I would sure as hell like to see him try.
No, I understand what you're saying. Okay, so I need to run, but I wanted to give my last 5 minutes very quickly. Last week, Eugene Melnick, the owner, governor, and chairman of the Ottawa Senators, passed away, and he riled some people up when he said we were going to move the Senators at some point a couple of years ago, where he did what every other owner did. He held the city hostage. But at the same time, what people don't remember is that before him, the Senators were basically bankrupt. Mm-hmm. So sometimes, you speak out of turn. You probably say something bad, but you shouldn't remember people only for the bad that they do. You should remember them for the good that they do. So, Seth, I got to run, but we'll talk next week.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, bud.
Night, everybody.
Talk to you later. Bye.